What's going on, YouTube, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about more political stuff. As you can see, I'm outside, so yeah. So let's start this conversation with what can the Democrats do to stop the misinformation? Well, how about making spreading misinformation illegal? How about making spreading hate crimes illegal? How about making it so that way if you do so, or you do such actions, you will receive a very severe fine depending on what you are. If you're a civilian spreading misinformation, $500 fine. And that's if you do it with malicious intent. If you do it and you don't know that the stuff you are spreading is not actually, like if you don't know it's fake, $200 fine. More susceptible for poor people, but still expensive enough to get people to stop lying. For big businesses, though, especially businesses that are intentionally spreading misinformation for political profit, you're going to receive a $50,000 fine for every time you lie, and it will double in price for every time you lie. Then guess what? The United States would start spreading real and true information instead of trying to manipulate each other into thinking one thing is right when the other party is wrong. The Republicans are kind of gods at spreading misinformation, but it's not because they're good at it. Well, it's not because they're aware of it, either. There's actually a lot of reasons. So, within the Republican Party, the reason why misinformation spreads so much is because of the religious folk. A lot of them don't really believe in the forms of science, and that's partially because of their religion. So, Christians, some Catholics, and etc., etc. There's like 50 different American-based religions that all literally have the same words written in the book, almost, etc. Point being that you have all these Republicans receiving information, and roughly about 47% of them, roughly, aren't educated enough to understand what their information is actually saying. A good portion of them, roughly 12-13%, the ones in our politics, know that the shit that they're spreading is misinformation, and the rest of them are all big business owners who spread misinformation for political profit and ad profit. That's why, as of recently, even on my YouTube account, I've been seeing a lot of these ads based on Republicans for Lauren Boebert and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, just because you're a chick with a gun doesn't stop the fact that you were a sex worker and trying to stop sex working, Lauren Boebert. Yeah, if you guys don't know what any of that is, then go ahead and check that out. Research it. Lauren Boebert literally was on an application where she was hunting for sugar daddies, and she was doing stuff with them. That's very obvious with the sentence sugar daddy being said next to it. So, but the fact that she was doing that, and she's also doing everything that she can to stop sex trafficking, yeah, I better stop that, but sex working, like at this point, you do realize human trafficking is only a problem because of horny men, right? Like, Lauren, you could have gotten kidnapped and thrown into some shit that was horrible, but you didn't really care because you wanted money, you said. And then you're going to stand up on stage and say it's horrible because it's evil. Okay, well, you're obviously falling into religion because you want to get benefit from it, which you're not actually religious yourself, clearly, because if you were, you would be freaking out that you're going to hell considering the actions you've done already. Same with all of the other presidential electorates based on the Republican Party. And I'll be honest with this. Well, with everything I've said so far, but with this specific part, it's very much an interesting thing that I'm looking for. And how do I explain it? Like, I'm noticing more information based on my hypotheses coming out on this specific subject. A good portion of those Trump-supporting Republicans are either white supremacists or somewhat pedophiles or human traffickers. I mean, look at Matt Gaetz, look at Donald Trump himself. Donald Trump's been at Jeffrey Epstein's island for a very long time and has been friends with him for over 30 years. Jeffrey Epstein's wife would try to groom children who would get trafficked to Jeffrey Epstein's island where Epstein can do the shit that he did to them. And you know who was there a good portion of the time? Trump. You know who was probably fucking kids a portion of the time? Trump. He even said during the time that Matt Gaetz was on trial that he knows Gaetz likes him young, which is an implication that he also likes him young. And if you guys don't know that's how that works, then you guys might want to go research a little bit more about psychology and neurology. There's such thing called projecting, where somebody will say, I hate something, but that's actually something they're into. So my father, he hated pedophiles, despite him being an actual pedophile and doing horrible shit to my family. Trump, oh, I hate pedophiles, but then he's around in in an island, multiple pictures of him within an island, multiple pictures of him with 17 and 16 and 15 and 20-year-old girls who were all most likely trafficked to Epstein's island, and probably the older girls have been sitting there for a while, because most of the time that Gates had camped, or not Gates, Epstein had them, they were all in their teens. So any girl that you see that's probably in their 20s was not trafficked during the time that they were 20 years old or 19. They've been there for a couple of years. Yeah, lovely. Um, One of the things that I want to bring up is, again, Democrats. You guys can easily stop the misinformation campaign and the disinformation campaigns being sent out by the Republicans by forcing them to not lie because of a huge-ass fine. I'm not kidding. You're gonna have to stick your balls to the wall and realize that even you could get sued for that kind of shit too, so you better start not lying, so that way people can actually start spreading real information that is actually true and accurate. But you won't, for one reason, because you guys also lie. You guys lie a lot by saying that you really do care about the civilians and stuff like that, as basically everybody in our country, well, 67% of us are broke as shit. Which, again, keep in mind, that's over 150 million people in the United States of America. So keep in mind, there's 329 million people in the United States. If 67% are poor and never able to get rich, how many do you think that actually is? That's at least, yeah, no, that's 180 million Americans to about 220 million Americans that are broke as shit. And then you have this small portion of roughly 70 million Americans who are at least upper middle class and wealthy. And yes, upper middle class does count you as wealthy, because upper middle class means that you have enough extra money sitting around that you could do something with it, at least being able to buy grass seed, which our family can't because we're that broke, which, yay, 3 incomes not going to do anything for our family. A lot of my hypotheses aren't even just hypotheses. They're coming from facts, and then I'm putting up a thesis or slash theory about the ideologies that are, being pushed around and stuff like that. For example, recently there was a huge group of Proud Boys like members. I don't think they were part of the Proud Boys, but they were another white supremacist group, and they were going to go to an LGBTQ plus rally for Pride Month, and they were going to go there and start a riot, and a couple of them had guns on them, Glock 18s and stuff like that, but most of them had riot gear, so that way they could go beat people just because of the fact that they're gay. They like beating up gay people, so you know what I would do? I would stop those people from getting weapons before they have the option of even traveling across the country. And also, the United States government needs to keep their eye on Idaho, considering the fact that that's one of the easiest routes from, Utah to Idaho is the easiest routes to transport massive amounts of people without being caught or stopped by cops. That's actually a known fact. That's where most of drug trafficking routes and stuff like that are as well, when it comes down to drugs at least. And we're trafficking humans who have AR-15s who want to beat up innocent protesters who are protesting and not rioting. So, think about that as you will, but also keep in mind the fact that these people wanted to harm innocent people. That's just that. That's the fact of the situation. They wanted to go beat up and harm innocent people, which I don't have enough power to stop myself, but if enough people hear my voice and spread it around, then maybe. I keep saying I should be president of the United States, and the only reason why is because I actually care about the people in this country, and I'm willing to take care of all the problems. But that also requires me showing myself as intelligent to some extent, which is hard to do when people like Lauren Boebert can get into politics just by saying that she's got big boobs, even though she's never had that come out of her mouth. But Cummins came out of her mouth. Ha 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 ha. Funny. No. It's kind of hard to, I guess, for a lot of people. Here, just for a second, let me back up what I was thinking to a previous conversation. The Ben Sharp Piro video. I'm not anti-Semitic. Don't think that. I'm saying that it's weird that he's Jewish and he's supporting the very party that hates Jewish people. That's like if a Jewish person decided to support Nazis, which is basically exactly what Ben Shapiro is doing. He's the Jew who's supporting Nazis. It's not that I hate Jewish people or they should all die. No, not at all. Not even close, actually. I don't even think that any religious person deserves death unless their intent is literally to take advantage of religion and weaponize it so that way they can cause harm. Those kind of people I feel like is a problem. But if you're religious yourself, and you just read what your book says, or whatever you have to read says, then you're fine. Just don't go out of your way to harm people because of what your religion says. Keep in mind, most of what we have on this planet, for human beings at least, are opinions and beliefs. Not everything we say is factual. However, there is a fact, at least a fact, within every single sentence that is ever said, which is a good statement to stick by the way, I've learned. Going back to the Ben Shapiro convo, one of the things I gotta say about him is, again, how could you be Jewish, support a group of people who think Jews are the reason why America is being replaced by Mexicans? Like, come on, Shapiro, Ben, you're not getting enough money out of this, so why are you doing this in the first place? Again, just because you talk fast does not mean you're intelligent. It just shows you're not really thinking about what you're saying. That, and also, again, with him being Jewish, supporting a party that hates Jews, basically, it's like, I don't know if I've explained this to you. So basically, the white supremacist side of Republicans that believe in the white replacement theory specifically believe that Jewish people are causing Mexicans to get snuck across the border so that way they can replace white Americans as they deport white Americans. That's the white supremacist belief. Ben Shapiro is helping those white supremacists by being a Jew who also is in a party of people who hates Jewish people. So that way he could be used as a pawn for somebody like Trump to say, hey, look, Jewish people support us, you should too. Even though that's literally a Hitler card. So yeah, that's where that conversation kind of just dies off and ends until Chart Piro does something new. Just like Amber Turd, we'll see what kind of deuce he drops on the bed on himself. Next convo. When we should stop the Republicans, or specifically Trumpists, doing what they're doing? The answer is right now, as soon as possible. But considering the fact that half of the Democrats and over half in our politics don't actually care that much that the Republicans are doing what they're doing is kind of something sad, because considering the fact that Democrats usually seem to be the more kind people, they're not willing to get the job done. And this job that needs to get done, my apologies, I'm yawning obviously, is the simple fact that if we don't stop these people, we're all going to die. Every microbe on this planet will die. No bit of life will come out alive from this. Everything will perish. And it'll be in the hands of the Democrats' fault. At least a good part of it. And part of the reason why is because they don't want to stop oils. Or oil funds. So they don't want to stop, the big oil companies who are raising the prices of gas despite having all the gas in the world and making shit tons of money for it already. You know what's funny? Gas prices shouldn't have risen anything over 20 cents. But the people who own the oil and gas companies that pump that fuel raise the price because they're legally allowed to fish for cash, despite having big billions worth of money. And when I'm talking about the oil companies, I'm talking you're getting almost 24, I think it was $11.6 billion a full year. $11 billion a year. I do think that could be false, though. I want to go back and research, but keep in mind that that's a possible number that is possibly true. And let's say that it is. Let's say that that hypothesis is correct, that it is $11 billion. That means in 2 years they're making 22 bill. In 3 years they're making 33. In another 4 they're making 44. Keep in mind, these people are making bank and they have just rose in the price of gas $5 extra. Everything in our stores are risen up to $3 extra. That's why a loaf of bread doesn't cost $2 anymore. It literally costs 5. The price of everything has been risen $3. And it's because, again, the rich of the rich are trying to keep the poor of the poor even poorer, so that way they can use us as slaves, without the whips, without the belts. Because our punishment for not listening is being broke and homeless. Okay, so what are we to do about this? Well, it's really easy. Look at all the loopholes that the big companies and stuff like that are taking advantage of, and stop them from being allowed to use those loopholes, and stop them from being able to do so in the first place by cutting off those loopholes. So, the rich of the rich, they're all working together right now to buy out almost every house in the United States of America so they can keep making the money from the houses. Okay? Well, that means a lot of the poor people who finally have enough money to actually buy a house for them to live in is not going to be able to do so for a very long time, and they're just going to have to hold on to that cash, which forces them to spend it due to the fact that they might have to find a place to rent instead of buy, and etc. List goes on and on. So, if we really want people in this country to be happy, we have to stop the rich of the rich using us like toys, and we have to stop the politics by using us like toys. We have to stop the reporters by using us like toys, and we have to stop letting everybody in this country capitalize off of our well-being. That's what capitalism is. Capitalism is evil. It's no different than communism. It's no different than fascism. It's no different than a dictatorship, but with multiple people. An oligarchy, etc. This country is in a very dark path, and I really don't see this country getting better as the white supremacists currently. They're not winning yet, but I know they're going to come back because that's how these evil motherfuckers tend to go. Oh, you're going to do this and this and this to stop me from having fun? Well, I'm going to do this and this and this and implement loopholes so that way I can have the fun that you guys tried taking away from me. And then that causes us to force more loopholes. So you know what Democrats might have to do for a while? Stop anybody who is rich from getting into our politics. That means a lot of people like Nancy Pelosi out. And guess what's going to happen? The people who come back because they actually have a heart in their chest and a good brain in their skull, or at least a decent one, are going to start thinking of the scenarios that are actually happening and, try their best to make sure they siphon the information to make sure it's true and accurate, whilst in the process of passing laws that stop bad people from doing bad shit. I know I'm not wrong here, because there's enough information and evidence to prove so that in the cases that I'm explaining, if they were to happen, would go by rather successfully. They may not go word for word, but things will happen. Things will change. White supremacists will stop buying AR-15s because there will be no more AR-15s on the market. In fact, a lot of our metal goes into the pricing and the making of weapons, such as guns in general. So then why don't we find another use for that metal? Because our scientists aren't allowed to, because if they were to find something that was evolutionary for the human race, where cash becomes, nothing profitable, then what are the rich going to become rich off of? That's what they're scared of. That's what the rich of the rich are scared of not being able to brag about something. And I'm not kidding about that. Literally, take into consideration every really rich person that you've ever known. Every actor, every single political star, every person that you see on the media, whether it's TikTok or Facebook or Twitter or YouTube or Twitch, it doesn't matter. A lot of these really rich people don't really care about anybody else but themselves because they want to make themselves look like they're better than everybody else around them. Which is that ignorance that's stuck inside of most human beings' brain, and where that comes from is literally the cash that we're born with, or the cash that we're born without. If we want Americans to stop being so greedy, we need to get rid of the concept of cash. If we want people to start being happy, we need to get rid of the concept of cash in politics. If we want people to start evolving, we need to get rid of the concept of cash, politics, and religion, unfortunately. People can be religious, but religion and politics should not go hand in hand. Here's why. They have for the last 4 years, and guess what happened? White supremacists took advantage of the religious people, took advantage of their religion and stuff like that. Started weaponizing it against the LGBTQ plus youth, despite 70% of them trying to take their lives consistently. And you know what's funny? They like to call kids pedophiles now. So that's an interesting thing to see. And that's the other thing that I was talking about earlier. They're projecting their emotions. I bet you most of those white supremacists that you see that are actually in the Proud Boys groups are actually pedophiles themselves and are really doing their best to make sure that they're not looking like one. Somebody who is too nice, take with a red flag. Somebody who's too rude, take with a red flag. A good person stays in the mid ground in between because it's more intelligent to do so that way. And it's also more, right word, what's the correct word? Methodical to do it that way. There's a lot more accurate and good proven methods of doing it this way. And what I'm trying to say is, if good people... hang on. If good people want to get rid of the bad people, then good people have to do something bad. You can't be scared of doing something bad. Being bad is okay, if there's a reason to do so. So, if you've got somebody with a gun to your head, and your religion is to not kill anybody despite any kind of circumstance, your religion is going to make you sit there and take the bullet. You don't want to die, so you move back, remove the revolver or whatever gun is from the dude's hand, and shoot the dude to death. In your religion, that's horrible, you're going to hell now. But you had to do something bad to make sure that you're alive. You should be allowed to do something bad to make sure that you're alive. If I get kidnapped, and I have a blade on me, I'm stabbing the motherfucker to death. Yeah, it's going to take a lot of stab wounds, but shit, I'm going to have to save my life by stabbing this motherfucker to death. And you know what's sad? Only in America do we have to severely worry about pedophiles and rapists and abusers and people taking advantage of us every route that we go in, and etc. And I say only in America, despite there being a few other countries where this is a problem, but America's got a 234% crime rate compared to every country on this planet. Yeah. And that's kind of sad to acknowledge. So where did I get the number 234%? Well, it's based on the crime rate over the last 60 years. How much has it shot up? Plus the combination of how much crime is actually there, not petty crime. So I'm excluding stealing from thrift shops and, grabbing an extra bag of Takis or something like that. Like, oh, look, I'm gonna go buy some food, but I'm also going to, commit petty theft. Any of those petty crimes, or even arson, I'm not really counting. I'm counting stab wounds, brutal killings, gunfights, gun violence, violent crimes, hate crimes in general. They've gone up a pretty massive amount, and the reason why is because of the white supremacists in America having all the power. I mean, again, look at our politics, look at the Democrats, realize that none of them are doing anything against the Republicans besides complaining about the problems, trying to make themselves look better, and also consider the fact that because they're not doing anything, it's possible that they agree with a lot of those Republicans that are, white supremacists, so they might be racist within themselves as well. But that's the thing. Nancy Pelosi, all those people, might as well show that they're not and do something to prove that they're not before they get removed from politics, because if I have to be the one to remove them, then I'm going to do so. And if it has to be with a force multiplier, then I might do so. Which, yes, FBI, take that as a threat, but it's up to you guys to make the world a better place, because I have no power to do so alone. But, so, there's that. That's basically it. Now that I think about it. That was a weird face. Yeah, that's basically all I have to say right now. I'll do an update on this video probably a little later today or tomorrow, and we'll see what those hearings are for Donald Trump. So, if you don't know right now, there's, January 6 hearings and stuff like that about how Donald Trump was trying to incite a riot, and all the Republicans that were around him so far, Bill Barr, Gates even, what was his name? Yeah, just in general, a lot of the Republicans that were in the GOP with Donald Trump and stuff like that, they're being anti-Trump now. They're like, we told Trump to not just claim that he won because that was a bad idea, and then Giuliani apparently told Trump to just say he won, so it's like dictatorship. And I'm like, guys, it doesn't matter if you're against him or not. You still went with him. You didn't try to fight him. You argued with him, but that doesn't count as fighting. The fight I'm talking about is, the attempt of removing a bad person from power. But you guys made yourselves look like bad people because you probably are bad people. But yeah, that's all I gotta say for today's video. Thank you for watching. Like if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it. Let me know the reasons for that in the comment section below, and I will see you next video. Schuss, auf Wiedersehen, and may you find peace in the domain.